This will be mini-series of employee stories who worked at gas station at Route 66. I will tell them until workers run out of stories or until they mysteriously disappear. Enjoy. I never thought I'd end up slinging coffee and cigarettes at a rundown gas station on Route 66. But life has a way of kicking you into the dust when you're not looking. It's one of those forgotten spots tucked between endless stretches of cracked asphalt and barren desert, where the neon sign flickers like it's gasping for air. The pumps are rusty, the mini-mart shelves stocked with stale chips and warm soda, and the only company most nights is the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. I've been here for 3 months now, pulling the graveyard shift from dusk till dawn, and let me tell you, the isolation creeps in like fog off a graveyard. But it's not the loneliness that gets to you. It's the rules. The old manager, a grizzled guy with a face like weathered leather, handed me a crumpled sheet of paper on my first night. "Follow these or don't bother coming back," he grunted, his eyes darting to the darkening horizon as if something out there was listening. I laughed it off at first, figuring it was some hazing ritual for the new guy. But as the nights wore on, I started hearing whispers from truckers passing through. Stories about other stations along this cursed strip of road, places where attendants vanished without a trace, or where the pumps dispensed something thicker than gasoline. One driver, with scars raking down his arm like claw marks, told me about a spot 50 miles east, where a clerk ignored the rules and ended up smeared across the forecourt, his insides twisted like they'd been wrung out by invisible hands. "Route 66 ain't just a highway," he said, his voice dropping to a rasp. "It's a vein pumping bad blood from one end to the other." I nodded politely, but inside, a chill settled in my gut. Those stories linked us all, like a chain of haunted outposts, each one feeding into the next. Rule 1. Never acknowledge the shadows in the corners of the store after midnight. Sounds simple, right? But on my second shift, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. A shape slithering along the edge of the candy aisle, blacker than the night outside. It wasn't a customer. The bell hadn't rung. I turned my head just a fraction and it froze like it knew I was watching. My heart hammered, but I forced myself to stare at the register, counting the crumpled bills in the drawer until my fingers went numb. When I looked again, it was gone, but the air felt heavier, tainted with a faint rot like meat left out too long. Rule 2. If a customer asks for the special blend, pour them regular unleaded and act like you didn't hear. No exceptions. I learned that the hard way when a woman pulled up in a beat-up sedan, her face hidden under a wide-brimmed hat. She leaned out the window, her voice a wet gurgle, like she was speaking through a mouthful of phlegm. "Got the special blend?" she asked, her eyes gleaming yellow under the brim. I froze, my hand on the pump nozzle. The rules flashed in my mind, but curiosity gnawed at me. What could be so special about gas? I pretended not to hear, mumbling about the price per gallon as I filled her tank with ordinary fuel. She stared at me the whole time, unblinking, and when she drove off, something sloshed in her trunk, a low, rhythmic thump that echoed long after her taillights faded. That night I dreamed of arteries bursting, black oil flooding my veins until I choked on it. The rules pile up like that, each one weirder than the last. Rule 3, don't look directly at the mirrors in the bathroom. They're those grimy ones above the sinks, streaked with God knows what. One night, after a slow hour, I ducked in to splash water on my face. Fatigue was pulling at my eyelids, the kind that makes your vision blur. I glanced up instinctively, and there it was. Not my reflection, but something else. A figure behind me, skin stretched tight over bones, mouth gaping wide in a silent scream. Its eyes were pits, endless voids that sucked the light from the room. I whipped around, but the bathroom was empty, just the drip of a faulty faucet. When I turned back, my own face stared at me, pale and sweating, but I swear the glass rippled, like it was breathing. These aren't just superstitions, they're survival tactics, passed down from one poor soul to the next along this God-forsaken route. I heard about a station west of here, near the Arizona border, where a kid broke Rule 4. Never answer the phone if it rings 3 times and stops. He picked up on the 4th ring, and whatever was on the other end whispered his full name, his mother's maiden name, the exact way he'd die. They found him the next morning, throat slit from ear to ear, but no knife in sight. His own fingernails caked with blood and skin. The cops called it suicide, but the truckers know better. It's all connected. These stories weaving through the night like the highway itself, binding us in a web of dread. Nights blur together now. The clock on the wall ticking slower as the darkness deepens. Rule 5. If you hear scratching at the back door, ignore it. Pretend it's the wind, even if it sounds like nails on bone. Last week it started around 2 in the morning. A faint scrape like something testing the lock. I busied myself restocking the shelves, my back to the door, but the sound grew insistent, rhythmic, almost pleading. Scratch, scratch, pause. Scratch, scratch, pause. I could picture it out there, whatever it was, hunched in the shadows, fingers raw and bleeding from the effort. The air grew thick with a metallic tang, like fresh blood mixed with diesel. I turned up the radio, static crackling over an old country tune, but underneath I heard a whisper seeping through the cracks. "Let me in. I'm so cold." I didn't open the door. I couldn't. But when dawn finally broke, pale light filtering through the grimy windows, I found gouges in the metal, deep, jagged lines that looked like they'd been carved by something with too many claws. Fibers clung to the edges, not fur but hair. Human hair matted with dried blood and chunks of scalp. I swept it away, my stomach churning, and tried not to think about the stories from the station up north, where an attendant let in a stranded motorist one stormy night. They say he was found fused to the doorframe, his body contorted into the shape of the scratches, skin peeled back in layers like an onion, exposing muscle and bone that pulsed with unnatural life. Rule 6. Avoid the cooler at the back if the lights flicker. It's where we keep the drinks, the beers, and sodas stacked in neat rows, but sometimes the bulbs overhead stutter, casting the aisle in strobing shadows. I ignored it once, reaching for a case of water, and my hand brushed something cold and clammy inside. Not a bottle, a finger, pale and swollen, nail-bitten to the quick. I yanked back, heart slamming against my ribs, and the light steadied. When I looked again, it was gone, but condensation on the glass smeared like a handprint from the inside. These rules aren't random. They're echoes of what's happened before, at stations dotted along Route 66 like graves in a forgotten cemetery. East of here, there's talk of a place where Rule 7 was born. Don't serve anyone who pays with coins that feel warm to the touch. A clerk took a handful from a man in a tattered coat, and as he counted them, they softened, melting into his palm like wax. But it wasn't wax, it was flesh, liquefying his skin until his hand was a dripping mess of tendons and bone. He screamed as the customer watched, smiling with teeth that were too sharp, too many. They linked it to an older tale from Oklahoma, where coins turned to eyes, staring up from the drawer, blinking in the dim light. Tonight's been quiet so far, the highway empty under a moonless sky. But as I wipe down the counter, the bell jingles and a customer shuffles in. He's ordinary enough, trucker hat, greasy overalls, but his eyes linger too long on the shadows. He asks for cigarettes, then leans in close, breath reeking of decay. "You hear about the station down south? The one where they broke all the rules?" I swallow hard, forcing a nod. "Yeah, nasty business." He grins, teeth stained red. "It's spreading, like an infection. You feel it yet?" Before I can answer, the lights flicker. The cooler hums louder, and outside something scratches at the door. This is just the beginning. The rules are breaking one by one, and whatever's out there on Route 66 is hungry. The trucker's grin lingers in my mind, those stained teeth glinting like a warning I didn't heed. The gas station feels smaller now, the walls pressing in as the hum of the cooler grows louder, a low growl that vibrates in my bones. I check the clock, 2:37 a.m., and try to shake off the dread coiling in my gut. Rule 8. If the radio plays a song you've never heard, turn it off immediately. I've never tested that one, but after the scratching at the door and the trucker's cryptic words, every sound feels like a violation. The static crackles, and for a split second I swear I hear a voice in it, not singing but chanting low and guttural, in a language I don't know. I slam the power button, plunging the store into silence, but the air feels wrong, heavy with that same metallic stench from before, now laced with something sweeter, like rotting fruit. I busy myself with the mop, dragging it across the linoleum, pretending the rules are just paranoia redact. System, hazing nonsense. But the floor isn't clean, it's gritty with desert dust and something worse, something alive. I feel it watching me, waiting for me to break another rule. Rule 9, never leave the register unattended after closing. I learned that one from a story about a station in Texas, where a clerk locked up late and woke up in the desert, his face half-eaten, his tongue missing. The truckers say he looked into the darkness too long, saw something he shouldn't have. I don't know what it was, but I feel it out there, slithering just beyond the light. The lights flicker again and I freeze, my hand tightening on the mop handle. The cooler's hum spikes and I catch a glimpse of movement in the glass door's reflection. Something hunched, too thin, skittering across the lot. I blink and it's gone, but my skin crawls, prickling with sweat. Rule 10, if you see something move outside, don't chase it. I learned that from a tale about a station in New Mexico, where a clerk followed a shadow into the night and came back with his eyes gouged out, blood pooling in the sockets, still alive, still screaming. The stories are endless, each one bloodier than the last, linking every station on Route 66 like a chain of slaughterhouses. I force myself to move, checking the locks on the doors, the windows, the back. Everything's secure, but it doesn't feel like enough. The air is thick, oppressive, like it's holding its breath. I sit behind the counter, my hands shaking as I light a cigarette, breaking Rule 11. Don't smoke inside the store. The smoke curls upward, blending with the dim light, and for a moment, I think I see faces in it. Pale, eyeless, their mouths stretched wide in silent agony. I stub it out, my heart pounding, and check the rule sheet again. Rule 12. If the pumps start dispensing without being activated, run. I heard about a station in Oklahoma where the gas turned to blood, thick and black, pouring over the attendant's shoes, his legs, his waist, until he drowned in it, gasping for air that wouldn't come. The bell jingles and I nearly drop the mop. It's a woman, young, maybe 20, with stringy blonde hair and a backpack slung over one shoulder. She looks normal, tired, her eyes red-rimmed like she's been driving too long. "Bathroom?" she asks, her voice soft, almost lost in the hum of the lights. I point to the back, my mouth dry, unable to shake the feeling that her shadow is too long, too dark, trailing behind her like a stain. She nods and shuffles off, and I watch the mirrors through the open bathroom door, my stomach twisting. Rule 3 burns in my mind. Don't look directly at them. I keep my eyes on the counter, counting the seconds until she's gone. She comes back, buys a coffee, and leaves without incident. But the air doesn't clear. It's heavier now, like the station is sinking into the earth. I check the cameras, flipping through grainy footage of the lot, the pumps, the road. Nothing moves, but the shadows seem to writhe, pooling in corners where the light doesn't reach. Rule 13. If the cameras show static, don't touch them. A clerk in Arizona did, and his hand fused to the screen, skin bubbling and melting into the glass, his screams muffled by the static's hiss. I try to focus on restocking the shelves, but my hands tremble, knocking over a row of candy bars. They scatter across the floor, and as I bend to pick them up, I see it. A finger, severed, twitching in the dust under the shelf. It's pale, bloated, the nail torn off, blood crusted around the stump. I stagger back, my breath hitching, and when I look again, it's gone. But the dust is smeared, streaked with red. Rule 14. Don't touch anything that doesn't belong. I heard about a station in California where a clerk picked up a stray glove, only to find it filled with writhing maggots, burrowing into his hand, his arm, his chest, until they ate him from the inside out. The phone rings 3 times and stops. My heart seizes, Rule 4 screaming in my head. I don't answer it, but the silence that follows is worse, filled with a faint scratching, like something's clawing at the walls, the ceiling, the floor. I light another cigarette, my hands shaking so badly I can barely hold the lighter. The smoke doesn't calm me. It tastes like ash, like death. Rule 15. If you smell something burning that isn't there, don't look for it. A clerk in Nevada did, and found a pile of bodies charred and twisted. Their limbs fused together in a grotesque heap, their mouths open, filled with ash that moved like worms. The night drags on, each minute stretching into eternity. I hear a low moan from the cooler, like someone's trapped inside, their voice bubbling through blood. Rule 6 grips me. Don't open the cooler when the lights flicker. I check the bulbs. They're steady, but the moan grows louder, wetter, more desperate. I back away, my sneakers squeaking on the floor, and trip over something soft, yielding. A hand, cold and gray, its fingers curling toward me like it's alive. I kick it away, my scream caught in my throat, and it rolls under the counter, leaving a trail of black slime that smells like decay. The stories from other stations flood my mind. Tales of clerks torn apart, their insides strung across pumps like garlands, their blood painting the asphalt in patterns only the highway understands. Route 66 is a predator, they say, feeding on those who break the rules. Its hunger endless, its teeth invisible but sharp. I check the rule sheet again, my eyes burning, the words blurring into a warning I can't ignore. You're not alone, even when you think you are. The bell jingles again and my blood runs cold. It's a man, tall and gaunt, his face hidden in shadow. He doesn't speak, just points to the pumps outside, his finger too long, too thin, bending at an impossible angle. I nod, my throat tight, and follow him out, breaking Rule 10 without thinking. The pumps are silent, but the air hums with something alive, something hungry, and as I fill his tank, I feel it watching, waiting, its breath hot on my neck. The man's finger, unnaturally long and bent, lingers in my mind as I stand by the pump, the nozzle heavy in my hand. The gasoline gurgles, a sound too wet, too alive, like it's breathing through the hose. The air is thick with that rotting fruit stench, now mixed with something sharper. Copper, blood, the kind that sticks in your throat. Rule 10 screams in my head. Don't chase anything that moves outside. I didn't chase him, but I followed, and now I'm out here, exposed. The desert night pressing against my skin like a damp cloth. The man doesn't look at me, just stares at the horizon. His shadow stretching across the cracked asphalt. Too long, too thin, like it's trying to escape him. I finish filling his tank. Regular unleaded, nothing special, though my gut twists at the memory of that woman and her special blend request. The pump clicks off, but the hose twitches, and for a split second I swear something pulses inside it, a bulge moving up the line like a clot in a vein. I drop the nozzle, the clatter echoing in the silence, and step back, my sneakers crunching on gravel that feels too soft, too yielding, like stepping on flesh. The man turns, his face still shadowed but his eyes glint, wet and yellow like a coyote caught in headlights. Keep the change, he rasps, tossing coins onto the ground. They're warm when I pick them up, soft like wax, and my stomach lurches as I shove them in my pocket. Breaking Rule 11 again. Don't touch warm coins. Back inside, the station feels like a trap, the fluorescent lights flickering just enough to make my skin crawl. I check the rule sheet, its ink smudged from my sweaty hands. Rule 16. If the floor feels wet, don't look down. I ignored that one once early on, and found the linoleum slick with something black and oily. Not water, not blood, but something that moved, slithering toward the drain like it had a purpose. A story from a station in Missouri comes to mind. A clerk mopped up a similar spill, only to feel it crawl up his leg, burrowing under his skin, his veins bulging black until his heart stopped. I keep my eyes up, focusing on the cigarette rack, but the floor squelches under my feet, and I swear I hear a whisper from below, soft and pleading. Help me. It hurts. The radio crackles even though I turned it off. Rule 8 burns in my mind, but I don't touch it. The static weaves into a melody I don't recognize, a low dirge that makes my teeth ache. Words slip through, not English, not anything I know, but they carry weight like a command. I slam my hands over my ears, but the sound burrows inside, vibrating in my skull. The lights stutter, and the cooler groans, a deep, wet sound like lungs filling with fluid. Rule 6. Don't open it when the lights flicker. I back away, my breath shallow, and trip over something soft, cold. It's that hand again, the one from under the counter, its fingers twitching, nails now growing, curling like talons. I kick it and it skitters into the shadows, leaving a trail of slime that bubbles on the floor. The phone rings 3 times and stops. Rule 4. I don't move, but the silence that follows is worse, filled with a faint scratching, now inside the walls like claws scraping bone. I light another cigarette, the match flaring in the dim light, and inhale deeply, ignoring Rule 11. The smoke tastes wrong, like ash mixed with blood, and when I exhale, it curls into shapes, eyes, mouths, fingers, before dissolving. Rule 15 haunts me. Don't look for what's burning. I heard about a station in Arizona where a clerk followed the smell of smoke and found a pile of hands, severed and charred, writhing in a heap, their fingers lacing together like they were trying to climb out. The bell jingles and my heart stops. It's a kid, maybe 16, hood up, hands in his pockets. He doesn't look at me, just shuffles to the candy aisle, his sneakers leaving wet prints on the floor. I don't look down, but the squelching sound follows him, and the air grows colder, the stench of decay stronger. "You okay?" I call, my voice shaking. He doesn't answer, just grabs a Snickers and tosses warm coins on the counter. I don't touch them, but they glisten, slick with something red. He leaves without a word, and when I check the cameras, the footage shows static where he should be, just a blur of shadows that writhes like a nest of snakes. The stories from other stations flood back, tales of clerks who ignored the rules and paid in blood. One, near the Texas border, broke Rule 17. Don't serve anyone who doesn't blink. The customer's eyes stayed wide, unblinking as they peeled the clerk's skin off in strips, folding it neatly on the counter like laundry, their smile never fading. Another, in Oklahoma, ignored Rule 18. If the clock stops, leave immediately. The clerk stayed, and the station locked itself, the walls bleeding, the air turning to syrup, trapping him until his screams choked off. Route 66 ties us together, a ribbon of asphalt and agony, each station a link in its chain. The clock ticks slower now, each second dragging like a blade across skin. I check the pumps, still silent, but the hoses twitch, like something's crawling inside. Rule 12 gnaws at me. I hear a low moan from the bathroom, muffled like someone's gagged. Rule 3 keeps me from checking the mirrors, but I feel it watching, its presence heavy, pressing against my spine. The scratching in the walls grows louder, more frantic, and I swear I hear my name, whispered in a voice that's too familiar, too much like my own. I light another cigarette, the flame trembling in my hand. The smoke curls upward, and this time I see it clearly. A face not mine, but hers, the woman from the sedan, her yellow eyes staring, her mouth stretched wide, teeth sharp and red. I drop the cigarette and it sizzles on the floor, the wet linoleum hissing like it's alive. Rule 19. Don't speak to anyone who knows your name without being told. Clerk in California did, and the customer carved his name into her chest, letter by letter while she begged, her voice fading as her blood pooled. The bell jingles again and I freeze. It's the trucker from earlier, his grin wider now, his teeth longer, sharper. He leans on the counter, his breath hot and rancid, like roadkill left in the sun. "You're learning," he says, his voice a low growl. "But you're breaking too many rules." He points to the cooler where the moan is louder, wetter, and I see it. A shape inside, pressing against the glass, its fingers splayed, its face a smear of flesh and bone. I back away, my heart hammering, and the lights flicker, the air thick with blood and rot. The trucker laughs, a sound like gravel in a meat grinder, and steps outside, his shadow stretching across the lot, merging with the darkness. The pumps hum, and something thick and black oozes from the nozzles, pooling on the asphalt, moving toward the door. The black ooze from the pumps creeps toward the door, slow and deliberate, like it's stalking me. It glistens under the flickering neon, not reflecting light but swallowing it, a living shadow that pulses with each step I take back. The trucker's laugh still echoes in my skull, a grinding rasp that feels like it's scraping my bones raw. My hands shake as I grip the counter, the rule sheet crumpled beneath my fingers, its ink bleeding from my sweat. Rule 12 burns in my mind. If the pumps start dispensing without being activated, run. But where? The station is a cage, the desert outside a graveyard, and Route 66 a vein pumping something worse than blood. The stories from other stations. Clerks torn apart, their insides woven into the asphalt. Their screams swallowed by the night. Bind me to this place, a link in a chain of horrors I can't escape. The air is thick, heavy with the stench of rot and diesel, now spiked with something sour like bile. The cooler's moan grows louder, a wet, choking sound, and I see the shape inside clearer now. Human but wrong, its limbs bent backward, its face pressed against the glass, mouth gaping, teeth grinding against the surface. Rule 6 keeps my feet rooted. Don't open the cooler when the lights flicker. They're flickering now, strobing, casting the store in jagged bursts of light and shadow. The ooze reaches the door, seeping under the crack, pooling on the linoleum like spilled ink. It moves with purpose, curling toward my sneakers, and I leap onto the counter, my heart slamming against my ribs. Rule 16. If the floor feels wet, don't look down. I don't. But I feel it, the squelch beneath the counter, the floor alive, breathing. The phone rings 3 times and stops. Rule 4. I don't touch it, but the silence that follows is worse, filled with a low hum, like 1,000 voices whispering at once, my name woven into the sound. I light a cigarette, breaking Rule 11 again, the match flaring in the dim light. The smoke tastes like ash and blood, curling into shapes, fingers, eyes, a mouth that screams without sound. Rule 15 claws at me. Don't look for what's burning. A story from a station in Nevada haunts me. A clerk followed the smell of smoke and found his own body, charred and twitching, his eyes melted into his skull, still staring at himself. The bell jingles, and my blood freezes. It's a woman, older, her face sagging like wax, her eyes too wide, too wet. She shuffles to the counter, her hands trembling as she drops warm coins that glisten red. "Coffee," she croaks, her voice like gravel dragged through mud. I pour it, my hands shaking, avoiding her gaze. Rule 17. Don't serve anyone who doesn't blink. She doesn't. Her eyes bore into me unblinking, and I swear her pupils pulse, like something swimming inside them. She takes the coffee and leaves, but her shadow lingers, stretching across the floor, merging with the ooze. I hear a story from a station in Arizona. A clerk served an unblinking customer, and the next night his face was peeled off, stretched over the pump like a mask, still twitching. The scratching in the walls is louder now, frantic, like claws tearing through meat. I glance at the cameras and the footage is static, a writhing mass of shadows that pulse like a heartbeat. Rule 13. Don't touch the cameras when they show static. I heard about a clerk in Oklahoma who did, and his hand fused to the screen, his skin melting into the glass, his screams swallowed by the static's hiss. I back away, tripping over the hand again. That severed, bloated thing, now with nails like knives, scraping the floor as it crawls toward me. Rule 14. Don't touch anything that doesn't belong. I kick it, and it bursts, spraying black sludge that smells like death, the kind that clings to your lungs. The clock stops. Rule 18. If the clock stops, leave immediately. But the ooze is at the door, the cooler's shape is pounding on the glass, and the scratching is everywhere, walls, ceiling, floor. I'm trapped, the station closing in like a throat swallowing me whole. I light another cigarette, the flame trembling, and the smoke forms her face again. The woman from the sedan, her yellow eyes gleaming, her teeth sharp and red, her voice whispering my name. I drop it, the ember sizzling in the ooze, and the floor ripples like it's laughing. The bell jingles again, and it's the kid from before, the one with the hood. He doesn't speak, just points to the bathroom, his fingers too long, too pale. I nod, my throat tight, and he shuffles off, leaving wet prints that bubble on the floor. The mirrors in the bathroom glint, and I feel Rule 3 pulling at me, don't look at them. But I hear it, a low gurgle like someone choking on blood, and the lights flicker faster, the cooler's moan now a scream. I check the rule sheet, my hands shaking so badly I tear it. Rule 19, don't speak to anyone who knows Anatano Mingqian without being told. My name echoes again, louder from the walls, the floor, the air itself. The kid comes back, his hood down now, his face wrong. Too smooth, too pale, like a mask stretched over nothing. "You're breaking the rules," he says, his voice mine, stolen, twisted. He grins, his teeth black and jagged, and drops something on the counter. A finger, mine, severed, twitching, blood dripping from the stump. I scream, stumbling back, and the ooze surges, wrapping around my ankles, cold and slick, pulling me toward the cooler. The shape inside slams against the glass, cracking it, and I see its face clearly. Mine, but wrong. Eyes hollow, mouth stretched wide, filled with writhing black tendrils. The stories crash over me. Clerks from other stations, their bodies twisted, their blood feeding the highway, their screams echoing through the night. Route 66 is alive, they say. A predator that hungers for those who break its rules, its veins running through every station, every pump, every shadow. I try to run, but the ooze holds me, the floor tilting, the walls bleeding black. The phone rings again, 3 times, stops. The scratching is inside me now, clawing at my chest, my throat. The kid laughs, his voice blending with the trucker's, the woman's mine. The lights go out. The lights don't just go out. They die, plunging the station into a darkness so thick it feels like it's crawling inside my lungs. The air is heavy, wet, reeking of blood and rot, the kind that clings to your skin and doesn't let go. The ooze around my ankles tightens, cold and slick, like fingers of a corpse pulling me toward the cooler, where the cracked glass groans under the weight of the thing inside. My face, but not mine, its hollow eyes boring into me, its mouth a writhing pit of black tendrils. The scratching in my chest is louder now, clawing up my throat, and I taste blood, coppery and sharp, like I'm choking on my own insides. The rule sheet is useless, torn and soaked in the slime creeping across the counter. But Rule 18 screams in my head, if the clock stops, leave immediately. Too late. The clock's dead, the station's alive, and Route 66 is hungry. The kid's laugh echoes, blending with the trucker's rasp, the woman's gurgle. My own voice twisted into something vile. "You broke too many," he says, his face, my face, looming in the dark, lit by a sickly glow from the ooze. Rule 19. Don't speak to anyone who knows your name without being told. He says it again, my name, over and over, each syllable a blade carving into my skull. The ooze surges, wrapping my legs, my waist, cold and pulsing like it's feeding on me. I stumble back, crashing into the shelves, candy bars and chips scattering, some bursting open, spilling contents that writhe like maggots in the dim glow. Rule 14. Don't touch anything that doesn't belong. Too late for that. I'm touching everything, the station itself a living thing. Its walls throbbing, its floor sucking at my feet. The cooler's glass shatters and the thing inside spills out. A grotesque mockery of me. Its limbs snapping as it crawls, its tendrils lashing the air. It smells like death, like the stories from other stations. Clerks in Arizona torn apart, their organs strung across pumps like tinsel. Clerks in Oklahoma drowned in blood from hoses that never stopped pumping. Clerks in Texas fused to mirrors, their faces peeled off and worn by shadows. Route 66 binds us, a chain of slaughter stretching across the desert, each station a tooth in its maw. The phone rings 3 times and stops. Rule 4. I don't move, can't move, the ooze climbing my chest now, seeping into my skin, burning like acid. The scratching is everywhere, walls, floor, my bones. And I feel it tearing, something inside me splitting open. Rule 15. Don't look for what's burning. But I smell it, smoke and flesh, and in the dark, I see it. A pile of bodies charred and twisted, their limbs tangled, their mouths open, filled with ash that crawls like worms. My face is among them, eyes melted, teeth bared, still screaming. I light a cigarette, breaking Rule 11, the match flaring and the smoke forms her. The woman from the sedan, her yellow eyes gleaming, her teeth red and sharp, her voice hissing my name. The kid thing grabs my wrist, its grip cold, its fingers sinking into my flesh like knives. You're part of it now, it says, its voice a chorus of every clerk who died on this road. I yank free, my skin tearing. blood mixing with the ooze, and I run for the door, breaking Rule 12, Rule 10, every rule. The ooze surges, tripping me, and I fall, my hands sinking into the floor, the linoleum soft and warm, like muscle. The thing from the cooler is on me now, its tendrils wrapping my throat, my face slipping into my mouth, my eyes. I taste rot, blood, diesel, and something older, something endless, like the highway itself. The bell jingles and I pray it's a customer, someone normal, but it's the trucker. His grin wide, his teeth a forest of blades. Route 66 doesn't let go, he says, his voice the desert wind, the static, the scratching. He points to the pumps where the hoses writhe, spewing black sludge that forms shapes. Hands, faces, my face, crawling toward me. Rule 20. Don't look at the road after dark. I ignored it, staring out the window too many nights, and now the road stares back, its asphalt pulsing, its lines twisting into veins that pump black. I crawl, my nails breaking in the ooze, my blood mixing with it, and I feel the station shift, the walls bending, the ceiling dripping. The thing from the cooler is inside me now, its tendrils threading through my veins, my heart, my thoughts. I see the other stations, the other clerks, their deaths playing out in my mind. Skin flayed, bones cracked, blood pooling in patterns that spell out rules no one survives. Route 66 is a predator, its hunger eternal, its stations altars where we're sacrificed one by one. The door bursts open and the desert rushes in, sand and wind and something else, something that screams my name in 1,000 voices. I try to stand, but the ooze is my skin now, my blood, my breath. The kid thing, the trucker, the woman, they're all here, their faces mine, their hands pulling me apart, my flesh peeling like paper, my bones snapping like twigs. Rule 21. Don't scream. It only makes it hungrier. But I scream anyway, my voice swallowed by the highway, the station, the dark. The last thing I see is the neon sign flickering, its letters twisting into my name, glowing red, then black. The ooze fills my mouth, my lungs, and I'm sinking, not into the floor but into the road itself, its asphalt warm and alive, its veins pulling me down. The stories were true. Route 66 is a vein, pumping bad blood, and I'm part of it now, my screams echoing through every station, every pump, every shadow forever. That's all for today. Hope you can still sleep tonight. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for next story.